This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Get a chance to talk with James Teague of the Teague Law Firm and former Arkansas pitcher who knows what it's like to come here to Hoover. And come here to Hoover when you feel like you need a win, too. That's not necessarily the situation this team is in, and they already have a couple of victories. With James, I remember 2015, you might have thought coming into the regional or coming into the tournament that the team was secure making a regional, as I remember Dave Van Horn saying that. But I also remember feeling, you know what, it might help to beat Tennessee. And then it went 10 innings, and that game felt like it really meant something.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I remember that absolutely. We were kind of hot and cold, and then we got hot for a while. And, Hoover is kind of a two-edged sword. You want to stay rested, but you can also build a lot of momentum if you have a strong showing. You guys coming out of the bullpen or offensively really performing, you can kind of boost yourself into a strong performance in regional. So we had a little bit of that going on, but it looks like this team is just going to kind of try to keep it rolling.
We've been talking a little bit about, with the thought that this tournament is just in preparation for the NCAA tournament. And some people think rest matters more than playing, to be honest, right now. And I just don't think athletes view it that way. Like, if you're on the pitcher's mound and you got a batter right there in front of you, you compete. You compete hard. You don't worry about the next week, right? I mean, you can't compete like that.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's funny you say that, though, because my 2015 experience was a little bit strange from a rest perspective. You may remember Bobby Wernis at like 10 o'clock at night had a 15-pitch at bat against Florida. Yeah. He ends up hitting a home run and us winning that game. Do you remember that?
Never forget it. Yeah, Benny hit the first pitch of that inning over the fence. And then I forgot who it was that got on base, but yeah, Bobby had that great at-bat. That's one of my favorite moments since doing these games.
Well, the ironic thing about that is everyone is celebrating in the bullpen, and I'm celebrating as well. But I know that I'm starting the next day against LSU when Bobby hits that home run. Meanwhile, my elbow is actually cracked. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, I think we're going to lose. We're going to go home. I can get some rest, and I can try to, help out at regional and hopefully the super regional. He hits the home run, and at one part of me is like, this is awesome. We're going to win. The next part of me is like, oh, crap, I'm starting tomorrow now. And that, for me, that was kind of that next start. Didn't go super well, but I think my elbow actually cracked that next day officially, and then, I ended up going down completely in super regionals. But, yeah, my experience was a little bit different than most. So I didn't say anything, but underneath it all, it was kind of like, oh, here we go.
Think about that. You knew that you had an injury. You knew it was there. You could feel it, right? And you didn't want to say anything?
Well, no, because, you don't get a lot of opportunities to, pitch against LSU under the lights, have a chance to win the SEC tournament. And, it was bad enough to know it was there, but not so bad that I couldn't pick up the ball. So, it was go time. But I give Bobby a hard time about that all the time. And, if you hadn't hit that home run, I may have been able to pitch into Omaha, but, thanks for nothing.
It's like Phil said, as athletes, we want to compete, and it doesn't matter, man. That's why we're there. James, it seems like more in baseball than any other sport, you have the emergence of young players during the season. Other sports like football and basketball, you kind of know who your guys are. What does that say about the second baseman that stepped up in his emergence this year?
Well, I think it speaks to the recruiting depth that Arkansas has, and kind of the recruiting powerhouse that they've built, and that you're going to have some depth, whether it's offensively or pitching. But I think you watch him, he kind of has a Josenberger vibe of like, I'm a ball player. I'm here to play. I'm not scared. Let's go, get in the box. So I think even though he may not have the experience of some others, when you look at him, he doesn't look like someone who's scared or someone who is, the moment's too big. I mean, he looks like he's kind of a seasoned veteran, which is definitely, what you want to see out of a guy coming off the bench that may not actually have that much experience.
He plays with a spark too, and there are a couple of guys that spark this team. Josenberger's one, but I feel like there's something that Peyton provides energy-wise that is tough to quantify. You know players like that. There's just an attitude about them. And it's tough to put a finger on what it is that's special about them. You just know there's something about them that's special. Peyton's like that.
It's a little funny you say that because that's how Bobby Wernis was on our team. He was kind of just had the mannerisms and the demeanor and everything that was kind of a spark and was kind of an uplifter. And, to be honest, I think that's part of the reason why he's done so well at Arkansas and why they wanted him as a coach so bad is because there was just an intangible something there that provided a spark, provided some energy that, is infectious with other guys on the team. And, some teams have them, some teams don't. But whether we find it, from the coaching staff at Bobby or with Holt, it's definitely been a little bit of a boost, I think, for our guys.
Did Bobby keep you on your toes as a roommate? Because, he's a really good coach. He was a really good third baseman. And I say this with the utmost respect, but it's also, it's true. He can be goofy, and goofy in a really entertaining way that he knows is entertaining. So I just can't imagine what it was like to room with somebody like that.
Yeah, well, he's pretty stubborn. That's another thing, too. He doesn't like admitting that he's wrong all the time. We've got kind of a legendary story. We were living at Hill Place, and, one day pitchers come back from lift a little bit later than the hitters, and there's no more sausage biscuits in the freezer. And Zach Jackson was our other roommate. He was like, "Hey, Bobby, why'd you eat the last one?" Bobby goes, "No, there's a whole box in there." And he goes, "Well, no, there's not." And they get into a knockdown, drag-out argument about why did Bobby eat Zach Jackson's last sausage biscuit. And this went on for hours. Bobby's argument was terrible. I think he's definitely in the wrong. But to this day, we always argue, what happened to that last sausage biscuit? Who took it? Why'd you take it? And why'd you lie about it? And it never gets old, and it's never going to go away. They'll be 100 years old still arguing about it. But, yeah, Bob, that's maybe a little bit of Bobby's goofy side and his, stubbornness coming out, that it's not just on the field. It's a full-time gig for him.
Hey, Matt, the moral of the story is you don't mess with another man's sausage biscuit. Don't.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. I want to say roommates. It's hard having a roommate in general, so imagine being 20-year-old kids. Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
James, I wanted to ask you about the atmosphere there at Hoover and how does it build? In my experience, I went to the SEC basketball tournament, and there wasn't a lot of people there when we played. And as you win, they start showing up. How does that atmosphere change? How does that help you? And does that help at all when you're out there?
Yeah, the Hoover atmosphere is great because it's a really big feeling park. It's a lot of open space. There's, it's kind of like going to a big league park. It's a little bit more open. There's more seats. It's pretty grand, and it's cool too because you see fans from all types of teams. Kind of in one spot. Usually you're on the road. It's Hog fans versus Tennessee or Hog versus whoever, but you kind of get a mix of people who are really just there to watch baseball. And as you know, Arkansas fans, they travel really well. They're going to travel. They're going to be there. So we've always had a good showing of Hog fans and Hog support. But, you get a little bit of mix of everybody. And when you start winning, your fans love you. But now all the other fans get together. They all hate you. So there's LSU fans there. You're not even playing LSU, but they're still yelling at you in the stands because they want to see you lose. So that's just, I think that's how it goes when you're good, and that's how it goes when you're winning.
Hey, James, watching yesterday's game, and Matt, we had a conversation yesterday about how do you get the pitch count up on a guy like Paul Skeens, who doesn't walk a lot of batters and throws so hard. Well, Dave Van Horn said you got to attack him. You got to swing the bat. And one way to get that pitch count up against a guy like that is to just fight with 2 strikes because you're going to get to 2 strikes against him. And you look at some of the at-bats, like Tavian Josenberger starts the game with a 9-pitch walk. Later on in the 4th inning, he sees 8 pitches. Peyton Holt, that game-tying single, came on the 10th pitch. What they did was they just played a little bit of pepper with the ball and frustrated Skeens, and I think that played itself out. When a pitcher is making pitch after pitch, and these batters are just wasting those pitches, you get a little frustrated, don't you?
Well, it's the worst thing when you're throwing good fastballs and they're fouling them off, and you're throwing good breaking balls and they're not chasing them. And I think that's what we saw yesterday is guys spitting on his breaking ball, which has been deadly all year. But then, 98, 99, 100 with run, they're finding ways to either fight it off, take it for balls, or to, play pepper and poke it in the gap. So I think for Skeens, when you've got a guy with that kind of stuff, you stay on the fastball and you try to spit on the breaking ball. And, it's not about necessarily going gap to gap because if you get the pitch count up and you get him out in the 4th, now you've got the opportunity to score on the next guy. And I think with a bullpen that's been wavering a little bit, that was kind of the game plan. I think they executed it perfectly.
I thought they did too. It was a lot of fun to watch, and that was a great pitching matchup. Both these guys are. Paul Skeens may be the 1-1 pick. Hagen Smith is going to be a first-round pick. I wouldn't be surprised if we see these guys go up against each other in the majors at some point because they both have big league stuff.
Oh, yeah. And when you watch Skeens, we've got to see Smith all year. We know that he's got incredible stuff. But the thing about Skeens to me that's so amazing is he throws, the glove side fastball with so much sink. So it looks like it's going to hit a lefty's hip, and then it can run back in. And that's a hard pitch to throw. It's one thing to throw it arm side and have it run, but to come, inside to a lefty, start at their hip and have it break back over and do that at 98, 99, that's just not something you see really at all, especially at the college level.
So I want to end this talk with a scenario because 20 years ago today, this happened to Kurt Schilling. Maybe you remember this. He's pitching. I forget the team he's pitching against, but he's with. At this point, I think he's still with Arizona, and he's working on a no-hitter. He's thrown 7 no-hit innings. It is a 3-0 game. Ben Davis leads off the 8th inning with a bunt single. That broke up the no-hitter. Schilling was pissed about it. He hated it. He called it Bush League. It's a 3-0 score, though, James. Is that Bush League?
I would say yes, but I think now it's on Kurt Schilling to throw at the next guy. I know people don't like that. Don't throw it, guys. But, Kurt, if you think it's Bush League, you got to take it in your own hands and let the next guy know, hey, if you guys want to bunt, if you want to win, that's fine. But I've got 98 in the tank, and you're passing it off to the next guy. So it's a little bit of a player policing, and you do that enough times, guys think, well, I'd really like to break up this no-hitter, but I don't want my buddy getting hit in the ear hole, so I'm just going to swing away. In today's game, they probably wouldn't allow it. He'd be fined or, this or that. But, I think that's how maybe it should be handled, or it probably was handled back in those days.
Absolutely. You throw at that next batter. That's exactly, you hit him right in the ribs. That's exactly what and if you throw me out of the game, it's fine. You know what was going on.
But then you throw at that next batter, and you might bring the tying run to the plate.
That's fine.
If you throw at him.
That's fine.
Schilling didn't care, that's for sure.
I've been getting y'all out anyways. I'm still going to get you out the next one too, but yeah.
Yeah,
James, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was saying, if you don't know where the ball's going, hitting guys probably isn't good because then you may walk the next guy and give up a double. But if you've got enough feel to be throwing a no-hitter, I think you have the confidence to get the next guy out.
James at the Teague Law Firm can help you with all kind of family law matters. That includes guardianships, adoption, and child support. And I know you wanted to talk about paternity cases for a moment here, James, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, so we've seen kind of an uptick in paternity cases, and what that means is, you have mom and dad who have a child who's unmarried, and it can be confusing when you have a child and you're not married because, what are the rules? Is it the same as divorce? Is it different? Well, the rules are a little bit different. Typically, mom, until paternity is established, is going to hold a lot of the cards. So, for dads, that means it's worth coming in and asserting your rights. And for moms, that means, maybe I'm entitled to child support. Maybe I need a court schedule to kind of navigate the uncertainty of what a paternity case looks like. And, it's something that we've seen more and more, but on that same token, we're getting a lot of experience in handling those types of cases. And I'd say about a quarter to a third of the cases I have now are actually paternity cases. And so, that's something we do a lot of, and it's something we can certainly help somebody with if they're interested.
James, always good talking with you. Thank you very much. Let's do it next week. We'll be talking regional, okay?
Yeah, let's do it. I'll be looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, James.
James Teague, former Arkansas pitcher and member of the Teague Law Firm, the best of Northwest Arkansas, twice in the last 4 years. James can help with all kinds of family law matters. You just heard him talk about it. Can help with all criminal law matters, such as traffic offenses, DWIs, and more. If you're looking for needs with an estate, James can fill your needs there, too. Teague Law Firm is a full-service law firm. You'll talk to real lawyers. They're going to call you back. You'll get their cell phone number. So call James and the Teague Law Firm at 479-877-1688. That's 479-877-1688. And you can also visit them online at teague-law.com.
BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right down to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.